Good evening. I'm going to surprise you tonight. I'm not going to speak about all the concerns, the flaws, and all the negative impact of this redevelopment. My last ditch in doing this was when I emailed to all of you that traffic flow slide this morning. I just hope that you would take the time to fully explore the traffic flow before making a decision. If you're okay with that flow, I'm okay with it. I have been talking about livability and our beautiful dreams on Tuesday night. I sounded like as if I was living in Fantasyland. It may be difficult for you to relate to the real meaning of that. Martin Luther King stood up a number of years ago and said, "I have a dream." The whole world woke up. Why? Obviously, it was the theme of his dream, but at the same time, he pointed out to all of us, we should all have a dream. Of course, I'm a lot less important than he was, a lot less talented than he was, and a lot less intelligent than he was. I'm just a very ordinary person in our society. But it does not mean that I cannot have a dream, and it does not mean that my dream is less important. I'm sure all of you had a dream and in every stage of your career and your life. If you think back when you were a teenager, didn't you want to have a boyfriend or girlfriend just like that somebody in your dream? After you got married, or if you got married, hadn't you had a dream of how many children you were going to have and what they were going to do when they grew up? These were beautiful dreams. Mr. Mayor, didn't you have a dream of becoming the mayor of Vancouver? Tell us how you felt on election night when you were declared to be the mayor of Vancouver. Now, I wasn't born wealthy. I worked 13 hours a day, 30 days a month for 4 full months every summer for 5 summers to put myself through university. Then I worked really hard and paid taxes for another 38 years so that I can fulfill my lifetime dream of owning a home in this beautiful neighborhood. This is what a dream is all about. I really want to urge all of you to try to understand our feelings and the importance of fulfilling a lifetime dream. In the last few months, instead of spending time on the golf course, I have spent numerous hours trying to convince my neighbors to speak in this public hearing. That was the price I was willing to pay to preserve my dreams. Of course, most of the replies from the neighbors were, "Oh, it's a done deal." Now, I don't believe in that. And this is why I am here speaking to you tonight. I believe you do listen to all of our concerns, and I believe you will investigate all the flaws that were pointed out to you during these 3 days. I believe in the democratic process of our political system, and I believe exercising my democratic rights. If I do not believe in this process, I should not be living in this society. Now, it is your turn to show us whether you believe in this process. We are not unreasonable. We're not against development. I believe the whole neighborhood had already expressed that to you. I'm actually a very strong proponent of eco-density. Unfortunately, there is no eco here. There's only density. People who will be living here do not walk to work. There will be young families with 1 or 2 children living here. They do not walk 15 blocks to the Safeway to buy 6 bags of grocery and drag them back 15 blocks. The location is not served by rapid transit, and most people will drive. There's no value to society by increasing the density here. More importantly, the density and tall towers surrounding the Heritage Building take away the charm and the meaning of preserving the site. Why bother? Mr. Mayor and Council, we have elected you to govern. I would respect your final decision as long as you have considered all of our concerns and investigated all the flaws of this application. I do not blame Mr. Wall trying to maximize the value of his land. I actually want to praise him for his ambition, but not at the expense of our livability, our personal safety, and our lifetime dreams of owning a home in a beautiful neighborhood. And please keep in mind, our livability, our personal safety, and our lifetime dreams are not for sale. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a request. Sorry to come in here, but I thought that I'd be on call as a second-round speaker, certainly before now, because I was number 8 or 9. It's Gary Hewitt on the original list, and I did request for a second opportunity, please. I was not through my remarks at that time.
Okay, that's news to me. I didn't have you on this list.
Well, I certainly formally requested it at the time. I don't mind going after the people you've already called, or now, whatever you like.
Okay, why don't I've called.
Actually, I have no problem, Mr. Hewitt.
You guys are fine. That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, you had spoken early on. So.
I did. So now I'd like, before I start and before the time runs, I'd like to have this distributed, please, by the clerk. And I apologize that the type isn't too bold. My ink was starting to run out with my printer. I'm sorry about that. Should have detected it earlier. So, I guess you can start the time as soon as those are out. So I'll be getting to that fairly soon in my talk. That's why I wanted to wait just for a second. There are 2 copies as well there for the planning people. So I guess I forgot to say good evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors, and others attending the public hearing. On Tuesday evening, I invited the city planners and/or Wall Financial Corporation representatives to present their estimates of residents and cars, and importantly, the assumptions the estimates were based on. If they choose not to do so, then I think we're entitled to assume their numbers are even worse, or despite all the preparation that's gone into this project, no one saw any need to make such estimates that could stand public scrutiny. If that is the case, the Wall proposal is not only rushed, but also, at least as regards city planning, bordering on negligence or incompetence. On Tuesday evening, I maintained that the traffic study accompanying the Wall proposal was both sloppy and incomplete. And this is very important because the traffic concerns in this project are one of the main concerns that everyone should have, the neighbors and the rest of the city. Anyway, now's the time to justify these labels that I gave. Some 5 days ago, I downloaded the traffic study included in Wall's May 25th application from the city's rezoning site, and have requested the city to circulate, the clerk, to circulate the relevant marked up page to the mayor, councillors, and so on. The methodology recounted in this traffic study was as follows. First of all, traffic counts were made on February 8, 2011. Then the peak hours in morning and evening were deduced from that, following which the per unit peak hour in and out rates were calculated and used to compose the table I indicated with the circled 1 on your sheet you have before you. It also shows the actual counts, by the way. This was then adjusted as described immediately below the table 1 to generate the ratios contained in table 2. Note that these are necessarily subjective and impossible to check. They are also inexplicably different than ratios generated by the same consultants, the BWW Consulting, for the traffic study used to support the original Wall application. The reason for the differences probably lies in the highly subjective nature by which the final ratios were reached. You can read those on that sheet just underneath the table 1. In fact, I think I will read it very quickly. I hope I don't run out of time. The AM rates are close to rates found in the standard references, ITE Trip Generation Handbook and the Ministry of Transportation Trip Rate Handbook. However, the PM rates are significantly lower than the rates in the above noted references. Then, based on file data about trip rates from other projects, changes to the above rates have been made, and the modified trip rates proposed for use in this study are shown below. Very subjective, in my opinion. For the final step, Table 2's ratios were ostensibly multiplied by the proposed 735 units to generate Table 3. Unfortunately, the multiplication does not yield the results given. I have inked in beside Table 3 the true table data, which with one exception are higher. For good measure, Table 3 was supplemented with an alternative one. This one simply multiplies the actual driveway counts by the ratio of planned units divided by present number of units, i.e. 4.5. Once again, the multiplication described was not actually performed. The correct products are again inked in at the side. This time they are both higher and lower than the table printed. Note as well that the out and two-way columns are identical to the ones found in Table 3. which suggests they were simply in error transposed to the new table. So far, I've described reliance on unexplained subjective comparisons, simple mathematical errors, and possible typing shortcuts. There are two more fundamental flaws to be considered. First, traffic is generated from Shannon Muse's cars parked on city streets that did not exit over detectors located on the driveways. And second, the effect of per capita income differences on car ownership were not considered. Condo owners are considerably higher income than renters usually. In addition, Bruno Wallace is quoted as saying that these will be high-end luxury units. Surely that indicates higher per capita incomes than are there presently. Higher per capita incomes should generally lead to more cars per resident and greater use of cars as opposed to public transit. When the wall proposal was first being developed, I, along with several others attending various public consultations, requested city planners on more than one occasion to do their own traffic study. The answer was invariably the same: trust us. Data are data after all, and our engineering or other services can begin with the outside consultants' car counts and form their own opinion on the adequacy of the study. I have not, however, come across any city critique of what BWW Consulting has done here. Given the mathematical mistakes in the transposed columns, I suspect BWW's work was not even checked by city planning. Otherwise, the obvious errors would have presumably have been corrected. If even the simplest review was left undone, what confidence should we have that BWW's assumptions were in fact subject to critical examination at all? For the aforementioned, I am very short to go here. For the aforementioned reasons, the city should postpone voting on this proposal until a proper traffic study has finally been done. In doing that study, the city must rectify an additional shortcoming, the most important of all. Some account needs to be made of other developments already approved or in the planning pipeline for Granville. Only then will anyone be able to say that Granville has the excess capacity to handle Shannon Muse's additional traffic. Thank you.